Hi, Tim from Fair Play Now, and it's the English National Lockdown, day 23, 27th of November 2020. Actually, this time last year I flew out to Tenerife for just a nice little kind of 4 or 5 day golfing break with some friends. I mean, how times have changed since those carefree days, eh? You know, there'd be sort of a fine chance of being able to sort of fly down to Tenerife now, eh? But today, I think the world has been, or should I say, the country's been waking up to the fact that, just as I kind of said quite a few videos ago now, that we're coming out of the national lockdown on the 2nd of December, but only to go into something that is locked down in all but name. I mean, most of the country, or a lot of the country, is going to be in tier 3, which is pretty much full lockdown, and the rest of the country, apart from a couple of tiny little enclaves, is going to be in tier 2, which fortunately includes me, but there's still so many restrictions, which is just going to harm so many people. There's a lot of anger about it, and I'm looking all over YouTube and the social media and other things to look at, and it's evident that there is a lot of people who are very angry, who are expecting that the national lockdown, we've kind of done our bit, done the national lockdown, and really we should be coming out into a tier system where we're kind of one less than where we were when we went into national lockdown. So if you're in tier 3, you should be in tier 2, and if you're in tier 2, you should be in tier 1, etc. But it seems to have gone the other way around. Everybody's sort of, people who were in tier 1 are into tier 2, and people who were into tier 2 were into tier 3, are now into tier 3. So very, very angry with the government, and I think this anger is growing, and I can't see Johnson lasting too much longer, and he's got to go. The man's just got to go, hasn't he? But anyway, I thought rather than ranting on like this, I thought I'd just do things a little bit differently today. What I thought I'd do is just read you out a little list I've got prepared down here, and it's basically everything that I've lost faith in this year. At the start of 2020, I came into 2020 with either total faith in these things, or at least partial faith. Maybe some of them, not so much, but I kind of thought perhaps thought they're arseholes, but their sort of basic intentions were good, but they were just idiots. But even that's gone with a lot of them, and all this entire list, I now think of them either as, at best, corrupt, and at worst, totally evil. I'll leave it up to you to decide where on the spectrum you think each of these are on that spectrum. But let's just go through this little list. It's quite a long one, and I just can't believe how long this list is of things I've lost faith in this year. So, politicians, the government, the Conservatives, the Labour Party, the Liberal Party, or whatever the hell they call themselves these days, I don't really care. The government advisors, just the normal ones, the medical government advisors, obviously the mainstream media. Okay, that had almost gone, but I still had a little bit of faith in that they were sort of still interested in a bit of basic decent journalism, but that's gone now. BBC and all other mainstream TV channels, the news, just the mainstream news, and the mainstream weather. Did anyone else notice how inaccurate the weather forecasts were over the summer there. Pretty much every week it was like, oh yeah, this coming week it's going to be lovely weather, and then you get to it, it'd be, oh no, the weather's going to be sort of rubbish this week, but next week it's going to be nice. And that happened so many weeks it was untrue. So got no faith even in the weather forecasting. All the mainstream press, we are sort of mainstream newspapers, Telegraph, Independent, Guardian, total rubbish. Piers Morgan, need I say more? Total effing idiot, scaremongering. Well, I won't say the word I was about to say. Scientists. Used to have great faith in scientists. Nah, not anymore. Scientific advisors and scientific advice. The WHO, the World Health Organization, SAGE, the UN, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, International Monetary Fund, the EU. Well, I didn't really have much faith in the EU, but sort of thought they're sort of basically okay, but a bit corrupt, but now totally corrupt. Globalists generally, the American voting system, the Democrats and the Republicans, coming back to this country, the police and the courts, the church, the fact that they closed their doors and wouldn't even let people go in to sort of worship their gods or God. Totally disgusting, especially at the time when they most perhaps needed to. The monarchy, all faith gone in the entire monarchy. Not just Prince Andrew either, but a lot of them. Big business, big tech, like all the big tech companies, Google, Facebook, YouTube, and all the rest of them with all their sort of ridiculous censorship. Anything they don't like you saying, they'll just censor it. Since when did they sort of become the Gestapo or the KGB and decide they had to sort of censor everything? The general public who have allowed themselves to be brainwashed. That includes several friends that I've got or had. They're part of the problem. They've just allowed themselves to be brainwashed, and then they're totally going along with the government and what they're sort of saying and their diktats, and that's what's keeping us in this mess. Obviously the V word, that sort of magic elixir we're supposed to take, which is going to cure everything. I'm afraid, I would say the NHS. I've lost faith in the NHS, but I'd already lost faith in them sort of quite a few years ago. And anyone who's had any kind of dealings with the National Health and their sort of mental health support, you'd have lost faith in them years ago. Doctors, not all of them. There's lots of good doctors and nurses out there, but the ones who aren't sort of speaking up and calling out things that they know is nonsense, but they're just going along with things, lost faith in them. And last but not least, my sanity. Kind of always thought my own personal mental health was rock solid. Sort of beginning to doubt that now. So so many things this year that I've just lost faith in totally and utterly. And it's like, if you're in that position, it's kind of almost, where do you go? Where do you go from here? Anyway, I'm afraid that was a bit negative today, but following the kind of news that we're coming out of lockdown, but not really coming out of lockdown, not feeling particularly positive today. Hopefully I'll be able to get a slightly more positive list of things out tomorrow, things that I have got faith in, or where my faith has increased. I'll come out with a more positive list tomorrow perhaps. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. So that's day 23 of the English National Lockdown. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.